opportunity to learn, work, and live on Treaty 11 lands within the Witchin settlement area and the lands of the Inuvik final agreement. We respect the generous sharing of traditional wisdom and knowledge. We commit to honoring paths towards self-determination. Item number 2, adoption of the agenda. Any comments? None. Declaration of conflict of interest or pecuniary. Anyone? Nothing. Delegations, presentations, or petitions. We have a copy of the RCMP report. I understand they're not coming tonight. Are they coming Wednesday, do you know? Okay. Any comments on the RCMP report? Item 5, public question period. Eric? Nothing? Item 6, adoption of the minutes of the February 6.1, February 20th and 22nd, 2023 council meetings. Any comments, any corrections? Seeing none. 6.2, the minutes of the February 23rd, 2023 special council meeting. Any comments? 7.1, the action items list. Any discussion? New business. 8.1, lifeguard uniform community contest. Excuse me. I'm sure you've all read the background here. The recommendation will be that we appoint 3 council members to form a review panel to select a winning design for the lifeguard uniforms. And further, that Inuvik Town Council hereby approves awarding a 3-month full membership to the person with the winning submission. Well, I'll need 3 volunteers. Natasha. Ed. And one more. Okay, Tony.
Right, honor.
So we'll make that motion on Wednesday night. Thank you, all 3 of you. 8.2. The appointment of members to the 2023 Municipal Board of Revision. That's for appeals on property tax. Excuse me. We're going to need a counselor to volunteer for this. It's normally a short process. How many appeals do we have this year, Grant, you know?
There is one resident appeal, and then the assessors have one adjustment. That's it, so it will be very short.
Probably no more than an hour. Any volunteers? Tony? Okay. Well, do we have any residents, Mr. Hood?
Well, as noted in the briefing note, we are working on that. One person is usually there. We haven't been able to get a hold of. We have one confirmed, and we're working on just getting one more.
Okay, hopefully we'll have somebody by Wednesday.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any questions? None. Item 10, 10.1, sorry, we have no bylaws. Item 9, item 10, 10.1, the community services report. Any discussion? Questions? Being none, thank you, Lise. 10.2, public works. Public services report. Any questions for Mr. Campbell? None? Thank you, Rick. Item 11, 11.1, strategic priorities chart. 11.2 are various research projects, Councilor Devlin.
I just,
You want to know what our strategic planning session is?
well, yes, I do want to know that. But I do want to, we're March 2023. and this is dated June 2022. And to be frank, we really haven't moved on many of these priorities. And I think we need to, and I think part of the reason, and I know this comes up every 2 weeks, and we just kind of gloss over it and we move to the next thing. But I think part of that is to be honest, is the fact that we aren't running committee meetings. I understand that 2-3 years ago, the last council decided to go to an ad hoc system. But we've been in place now serving for 1.5 years, and I've had bylaw review committee meetings, but I've never had an administration meeting, and we're about to replace our SAO. And we just lost our HR director. I mean, so there are some things that I feel that council needs to be a bit more in tune with. And so I'd like to make a suggestion that we put a motion on Wednesday, perhaps, to see if we could ask or direct the SAO to set a schedule of departmental committee meetings, because those are not necessarily the ad hoc that might not have anything to do, but the departmental ones. And that we actually schedule some hard dates for the next 6 months, next year or something. And we do convene some of these committees. I think, again, I brought this up about 1 year ago. I think that we can be very effective in committee work when we want to be, if we're given the opportunity to actually have committee meetings and be able to have some of those brainstorms around some of these priorities here. Not to give direction, but certainly to have discussions, with staff on that level as well, to understand where we are at with our priorities. I would just, like I said, when we talk strategic priorities, and we have a 9-month-old document right now, I just think that's a bit of a concern. So thank you for listening to my.
Thanks for the comment. Any other comments on that topic? I'll start with SAO Hood.
No, and Tony, Councillor Devlin, I understand that, and I'm in talking to Dr. McIntosh. We were having a lot of difficulty trying to do it. My suggestion, if council's okay, is I can facilitate that. I have a pretty good understanding, and if you want, from a strictly a point of view of looking at this, if there's things that need to be changed, I can certainly facilitate that kind of a thing. If council wants, or because otherwise it's getting pushed that way. Although we're trying to arrange maybe something virtually. As far as the committee meetings, I have no problem doing that. However, I would need to know from council what they want to discuss at the committee meetings. It's your committee, so what things do you want on the agenda? So that's what I need.
Certainly tied into the strategic priorities would be initially what I would be looking at, because those are our current subjects. So just where we're at, getting updates on those. Certainly.
That would be more of actually a committee of the whole thing, not a specific administration committee or anything. That was never done under any of this. So from history of the committees and stuff.
Where are we going to move ahead with some of this stuff as a council then? Abandoned and unsightly property is the only opportunity to speak to that sitting at this table in this forum. That could be very much the only way that goes forward. But then we need a bit more wholesome time to be able to discuss some of these things, I think, to sort of have it in a small section of a larger council meeting. And I'm not denying the fact that these need to be public meetings. I understand that concern in that. But like I said, to discuss abandoned and unsightly property, I was under the impression that was going to the bylaw review committee at some point. But how is that able to be discussed at a bylaw review committee? But we wouldn't be able to discuss cold testing opportunities outside of a public forum. I'm just ignorant.
No, I think the way that,
Natasha.
like you would have to actually strike a committee for that particular item. If that's the way you wanted to see it, so. Because abandoned and unsightly property does fall under a bylaw, it makes sense that it would go on the bylaw committee. Like even the inventory might go under an administrative committee, because it would come from admin, right? But the cold weather working group, that's not something that we already have internally, so it certainly would need to be. I would think something that came as being struck by council to create a committee to talk about that. But of course, SEO Hood, if you have advice there, I'll certainly listen.
I think I tend to agree with you, Deputy Mayor. Trying to discuss cold testing opportunities in particular, we need to work with that. It doesn't really fit into maybe economic development, I'm not sure. Any comments, SAO Hood, or you're good?
No, I mean, a couple of these, I agree with that Deputy Mayor Kulikowski has it pretty well, right? I mean, the residential property inventory. That'll come out, we've done that as part of the audit, so that one's always been one of those ones that. And with the discussions of some of the other things, the land, items and stuff like that too, so. That one, I think, is something that we can just present quickly at a council meeting. Here it is.
Thank you. Anything further? Okay. 11.2, we have various research projects, and one actually. Item 12, council concerns. Anything? Seeing none. Oh, Deputy Mayor Kulikowski.
I don't know if it's well. And I don't know if it's our responsibility or MACA's or who, but like, have we completely given up on regulating the lotteries? It seems like there's been 3, maybe 4 actual raffles with lottery license tickets, and everything else is just a crapshoot. And I know in the past we've put out advertising that says that all of those kinds of things are buyer beware, and that's, you know, personal choice. If you're going to buy them, you're taking that risk and stuff. And I'm wondering if that's where we're at on that. Maybe we need to run those info again on our socials, just letting people know. Because it just seems like almost all the fundraising that's happening in town now is happening outside of lottery licensing.
Yeah, I agree
Thank
with you,
you.
Deputy Mayor. If you read the News North Nunavut edition today, they're having the same problem.
Oh,
Not just one community, but the whole territory. I'm gonna let SAO Hood expand on our efforts on that one, because I know he's looked into it.
Well, it's like we practiced this or something, because I was actually looking at today, quite literally this afternoon, a piece that an advertisement that the GNWT has put out regarding unlicensed and buyer beware. We've always had this difficulty of the online. There's just no way we can do it. The other thing that is with lotteries is that while we administer them, we have no jurisdiction over if they're enforcing it. It has to, and we have done it a couple of times. The RCMP are the only ones that can do it. And it actually falls under the Criminal Code of Canada. And we have done it. The problem you run into is they have a lot of other higher priorities and trying to track it down. However, like you said, I was looking at it today saying, we need to send this back out again. And ironically, you bring it up, but it has been discussed at length with in the lottery committee and on previous councils of how to do it, the Facebook squares and things like that. How you can, unless people have to complain on something like that, and for example, like in Inuvik, and also even on the GNW, if somebody wants to complain, if it's take a screenshot, those kinds of things. So if they're sitting at Stanton's with something and doesn't have anything, we could probably go in and tell them, okay. It would have to be probably maybe even the RCMP that would have to go in, because again, we administer the licenses, we can't enforce. We have no enforcement powers, which is unfortunate. Even the GNWT, if you complain to the GNWT, they still have to go to the RCMP. Because it's a criminal code thing. That's how.
Yes,
I guess if I could just make a request then that we recycle our buyer beware posters.
Mhm.
Just for people's sake of
actually, we just
knowing.
mentioned that the other day. That
Thank
will
you.
be going out again.
Yeah.
Anything further? Councilor Galloway.
The one thing that I haven't heard much about was our number one priority, tripartite leadership table. Which, remember certainly well, was us in Evaluate and Glitchin.
I have had discussions with both leadership of both parties, but getting all three together has been a challenge. If you want to discuss it further later on, we'll probably good.
I think just an update if for the council, we could get it. I mean, I know both Indigenous governments are moving towards self-government, which is gonna be a third pillar, third column of power. In the GSA and in the Evaluate final agreement area, so. We have beneficiaries from both Indigenous groups here in town, so just getting a sense of. How do we fit into that picture when that time finally comes? And if there's been any updates from them on jurisdictions that we have as a municipality? Just a sense along those lines, it's just an update if it's possible to provide that.
So one time we had a Gwich'in and a Nubiala representative on council until we found out it was illegal. But, they used to take part. We're working at doing that again.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Anything further? Counselor, why do I want to keep calling you a counselor? Such a race.
Don't worry.
What's happening next election? Councilor Hood?
I just would like, it was brought up at the last council meeting, regarding an update with the pool. I'm surprised nobody asked. Yeah, so I want to thank Director Samir for getting me this update. So basically what we're looking at right now is we have bodies in the water, training. They're all. I'm so used to saying that there's nothing happening, but so we're doing still a little bit more training. It's taking a little longer than we anticipated, but it's been a number of years since these people have to be tested and things like that. So that's how. We have on Friday a final health inspection, which we anticipate will pass all the records. We've had one. There was a few things that we had to correct. So nobody can hear me. What? Anyways, we have as well. So what we're looking at is they are anticipating actually the Denny Games are here, and they are going to release some of their staff who are practicing or training to be lifeguards and should be certified. So we might actually rent it out to them first. Following that, we're anticipating right now opening up around Saturday, March 18th. So in a couple of weeks.
A date.
Again, it's much easier because we know operationally it's from that the pool, the pumps, the heat, everything else right now is working. And it's been working. Like I said, we would be allowed to put live bodies in the for the training and the testing. So yeah, the next thing we're looking at is probably having a barbecue social in the pool lobby, and things like that. Where we're gonna have the area that we'll probably have to limit to right now to maybe 50 people in the pool at once just because of staffing. So what Elise and Shandy have come up with is we'll probably do it similar to what we did under COVID, when we had limits on the arena and things like that. So we'll probably have to phone, you'd have to get a reservation, correct? That's kind of the plan that way.
We'll try that, and see if, like, it worked during COVID, so we'll try that to see if it worked well.
And again,
Yeah.
the big thing is because there are regulations as to the number of lifeguards, qualified lifeguards on the deck, limits the number of people we can have in the pool. So we'll work the best we can. If we can get more, then we can expand it, but that's sort of how we're going. So it is a good news for once.
Thank you. Any questions? None? 50 people is a lot better than nothing for the last few years.
Oh, I'm sorry, the only other question, and I would, I guess maybe get council's thought on it is, when it does open, do we look at reducing the fee for a period of time, having it free for a period of time, or what councils go? And there's some pros and cons to both, all those different things. One, if you open it up for free, then we may find that limit of 50 and administratively could become a nightmare because everybody ain't doing it. Or do we have a reduced fee? I mean, and that's the only concern that would be. But if council wishes it to have like a 2-week or 3-week or a month of the free swims, like the adult swims, things like that. Not certainly lessons, and that would still be a paid kind of thing. I'll leave it up to council maybe to kind of give us a direction.
Deputy Mayor Wilkins.
Just curious, do you need a motion for that because it involves the dollars?
I think it's just a direction kind of, because under our policies and that I can waive those fees.
Okay.
And I'm just getting it, I know that to get sense from council as to, you can make a motion to, maybe that might be the best way to do it. Then we can, go back that way.
And just as a follow-up, do you think you'd be able to pull together for Wednesday, the pros and cons list and the costs of
Yep.
reduced or free estimated kind of thing for us?
I'm sure Lise could do that.
Okay, well, could you arrange for that to happen? I think that we might agree that that would be a good way to go in, is the numbers to look at.
So I-
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? Seeing nothing, we have no in-camera items, so a motion to adjourn. Counselor Gallons, Counselor Alexis. Thank you, Alana.